We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Todd Graisley from Perfectly Pinellas here with Jeff McCulka of Coldwell Banker Realty in St. Petersburg. You know, you are the only person to have appeared on Perfectly Pinellas twice. You have to feel honored. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, I feel very honored. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we last chatted back in May about the real estate market. How has it changed since then?
Yeah, so the market's really picked back up. I think it slowed down a bit when COVID was peaking over here and everybody was social distancing, but now it's picked back up, and I think it's really at a point where it's a complete seller's market. Now, rates are still good for buyers, but you know, you're seeing everyone from up north and these crowded urban centers come down in droves, and they're really flooding the market with more buyers. I had a house that I put an offer on for my clients, and we had 13 competing offers. So, and that place sold within a matter of days. So that's what you're seeing ultimately across the county, is that there's more buyers than inventory. And when someone does sell their home, a lot of people don't end up leaving the state. It's more a lateral move where they kind of just move up or down on size of the home, and they end up staying in the area. So it's not like when people sell their house, they're not moving out of the state, creating more inventory. Everyone's staying in the state, and then we got more people that want to move to the state. So it's really hard for the market to continue like this until there's some sort of correction or whatnot.
So what advice, I guess, would you say to buyers? Because I know I have family members that are looking to buy. I've seen people that are looking in the market and trying to move down here, and they're missing out on those opportunities because they're not jumping quick. What advice would you give to them? Would it be, don't try to negotiate over $5 or $6 grand, just go in at full ask? Would it be to maybe not lower your standards, but maybe try and find a fixer-upper and think outside your comfort zone a little?
Yeah, those are great points. Really good points. So you definitely have to work with a professional who's plugged in. That's number one. Find somebody that's plugged into your local market so they see what comes up in the inventory in real time. You don't want to be looking online, find something you really like, and then it's been on the market for a few days. People are jumping on it, and you're losing out. Another point you brought up was the kind of a fixer-upper. Now, if you're comfortable with something that's not cosmetically remodeled 100%, maybe you want to do some sweat equity and you're a do-it-yourselfer. There's tons of YouTube videos out there, and you can find value in that because not everybody wants that. Some people do want the house completely remodeled, but the key is to make sure the house has good bones per se, and that you're not worried about anything major going wrong with the house.
Yeah, and we'll talk about inspections here in a little bit. And when we talk about those, you see those gorgeous photos online. I'm guilty of looking around, but you always need to do your due diligence and check out the property personally, have it properly inspected. What does that process entail, and how long does it usually take?
Yeah, so it really comes down to your contract. You get a due diligence period every time you get under contract on a house. And usually it's around 2 weeks. Now, you may want to make your offer more competitive and make it only a week. So some sellers want to have a quick due diligence period because they may think that their house is 10 out of 10, nothing's wrong with it. And they don't want you to hold up the contract just in case there's all these other buyers that want to buy the house. So they may want something quicker, but generally speaking, about 2 weeks or so. The FAR bar has a standard 15-day window. So during your due diligence period, you get to conduct a home inspection, and it's very important to hire a professional who uncovers everything you want to know about the home.
And that's all on the buyer, correct? The seller isn't required to do anything.
The buyer's responsibility, correct. Now, everything's negotiable, but traditionally, it's the buyer's responsibility to hire a home inspector And a good home inspection is roughly around $500 or so. And then every home inspection company is different. They may itemize the different reports that you need for the insurance companies, like the 4-point and the wind mitigation. Those sometimes are separate prices. You may find that you go through a full home inspection and you may not even want the home inspector to write the report because you're just going to cancel because it's just that bad, you know. So maybe you save yourself $7,500 by not having them write the full 4-point wind mid reports. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 4-point inspection, especially in older homes. Why are insurance
Right.
companies more reluctant to issue those homeowners policies in those situations?
Right. Yeah. So home inspection is very important to be able to bind insurance for your house, and you need to have an insurance policy on your house before your mortgage company will allow you to close on the house. Um, a lot of insurance companies, especially with older homes, 1980s and older, um, they want to know that everything's up to code or at least close to being serviceable. That way, they're not taking on a big liability. So they're going to want to see a 4-point, which is your roof, your HVAC, your plumbing, uh, and um, and so they want to see that very clean and without any repairs needed, right? And then the wind mitigation goes over any discounts you might receive for the type of roof that you have and the way that it was done. So it's very important to get those reports for your insurance.
Yeah, are there any other concerns both the insurance company and you as a buyer should be weary of? Because I know when you go in to buy a home, it's a massive purchase. It's probably one of the biggest purchases you're going to make, in your lifetime.
Yeah. So you definitely want to, I always recommend my clients show up for a walkthrough after the home inspection. All right, where you let the home inspectors take a couple hours to look over the home, and then they walk through the finer points of the home. There may be items that you just need to have maintenance on, or items you may have to address later in the future. So it's important to be present, I think. And even if you can't make it, they should be able to virtually walk you through and take a look.
Is that something that as, you know, we get a little more past the heart of COVID, the Marches and the Aprils, and we, head off into the fall and hopefully it gets better, but are you seeing more and more of your customers, of your potential buyers doing those home tours virtually or in person?
Yeah, I've seen a mixed bag. A lot of when people are kind of forced out of state, especially that want to come to move to Florida, they'll do things virtually, obviously. But a lot of my clients are wearing masks, and I'm wearing masks, and we're not crowding each other while we're going out and showing. I let them kind of take the lead, and I just follow behind. So yeah, we are keeping it safe, and I'm always bringing hand sanitizer with me to make sure everyone feels safe. So, but virtual is a pretty big part of the industry now, and so I think it'll become normal place. Um, I'm seeing a lot of showings done virtually, a lot of open houses done virtually. So I would expect that to continue.
Obviously, the customers are adapting. I mean, how have you had to adapt kind of going off of that as a realtor?
Yeah, I've been just making myself more available online. Doing meetings like this actually, where I can even uh, have you take a look at my dual monitor, and I could be showing you maps. I like to go over flood maps with my clients, and then also different parts of town they should be looking at. So we always have initial consults. That's how I like to start my business: is initial consult, just online, just like this, where we can see each other, kind of like if you were to come to the office, but
Right.
without having the risk of getting in contact with the virus. So and then we can go out and go take a look. And I think when we go out for showings, you know, uh, I think it's pretty safe. And I don't think if it's occupied, the sellers won't be there. And if there's tenants for some reason in the place, we ask them to not be present. So we try to keep everything social distance, and so far so good.
That's great to hear, and I'm glad business is steadily flowing. And it's easy to pick that dream home, go window shopping, as I like to call it. But the major question at the end of the day is, can we afford it and how are we going to pay for it? What are some questions that buyers should ask their lenders?
Yeah, so there's some really good questions. I'll go over a few. Like, what you want to ask your mortgage lender is, what type of products do you specialize in? Not every mortgage company is going to be the same as the next. Some specialize in certain programs or products. If you don't have enough for a down payment, you may want to find a mortgage lender that works with first-time home buyers and to help you get down payment assistance. Some mortgage companies have more conventional style loans compared to first-time home buyer loans, and you really need to find out how much you need to bring to the table as far as like a down payment. Another question would be, how much is my mortgage payment going to be, and what's included in that? So that ties into your rate, the insurance, taxes, and so you kind of want to find out there. And the third question would be, how do I pay my mortgage? Do you end up servicing the mortgage, or do you sell it off to another mortgage company that'll service it? And can I pay online, or is it something more traditional where I'm only able to mail in a check? Another question would be, can I prepay or pay more than my mortgage payment without any penalties? So you kind of have to interview mortgage companies, and I would always traditionally tell my clients to get 3 bids, and make sure you interview multiple just to get an idea of where you sit.
And as their real estate agent, is that something obviously you don't handle, but is it something where you recommend certain companies that you've worked with in the past traditionally?
Yeah, I definitely have preferred lenders. I like to refer my clients. Everyone's pretty busy with the rates being so low. There's a lot of refi business, and so lenders are jammed. Every lender I'm working with is just completely busy. So, but when I tell them, hey, I have a client that really needs to get pre-approved, I am prioritized in their schedule, I guess, to make sure it gets done. So, I
Yeah,
like
and,
to.
and, I, and I think you touched on it. As being a first time home buyer myself, in the last 5 years, is there are a lot of questions you have to ask. Like, one of the ones that I found was what's included. We live kind of close to the water, and how much of that mortgage is taxes and flood insurance and all of that, and
Right.
you have to take those
Exactly.
things in consideration. And oh, well, I'm putting in this much a month. Oh, well, that goes to insurance. Okay, so I don't need to pay here as well. And that can save you money at the end of the day. And another thing, when you talk about money, is the details of the loan. Will you service the loan? How long will the rate be locked in? Are there any prepayment penalties? Just talk about some of those issues and how important it is to ask those questions.
Yeah, that's very important. You know, if you're home buying and you talk to a mortgage or company or a lender and they lock in a rate for you, there is a timeline that you have to get under contract on before that rate expires, and that changes per mortgage company, I think. So um, you, you don't want to get pre-approved too early because there is a more of a soft pull on your credit, from my understanding, and so you basically kind of want to time it right. And closings traditionally have been 30 days. During COVID, and right now I've been seeing them push out further to 45 days. So you really want to, if you think you're going to want to buy a house, you want to start about 2 to 3 months prior. That's when you first start thinking about getting pre-approved. So you don't want to get pre-approved too early. And if the rates drop or go up and you're locked in, the benefit of being locked in is if they go up, then you're locked in. You have a lower rate, right? But if they go down, the only real way to kind of get out of that is to, and lenders won't like me for saying this, you're going to have to find a different lender who'll get you a lower rate. But that lender that locked you in is going to want to keep you at the rate that they locked you in at. So that's how that works.
The ultimate goal is to close, finalize the process, get the deal
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Once you figured out the financials, the mortgage, the lending, all of that, then it's time to go to closing, which is the last and the final step. What does that process entail, and how does that work for the client?
Yeah. So basically, you go through the inspection. Once you get past that, then title's got to clear your property and make sure that you're getting a clean transfer of ownership through the deed. And then you bond your insurance and you basically go to closing. You sign a stack of papers this high, going over disclosures with the lender, and it's pretty. That's the happy moment is closing, and we've been doing a lot of closings in person at title. I haven't been showing up to all of them, just trying to social distance, but closing's a fun time. Once you get the lender to give you what we call in the industry CTC, clear to close, that's the green light.
Green light.
Own your home. I mean, basically we do a walkthrough and everyone's happy, and couples are measuring rooms for furniture, and everyone's kind of that last week before closings is a happy time traditionally.
And definitely what we want more of is happy times. What advice would you to kind of end and wrap things up? What overall would advice in this moment to buyers and sellers alike?
You definitely have to be plugged in. I wouldn't, I wouldn't go into anything with the expectation that it's just going to work out. You have to work with somebody and make sure you have a game plan, because this market, if you're selling your house, you should be selling it pretty quickly as long as it's priced fairly. But if you're buying a house, that's a little bit more challenging because it's a very competitive market. So you have to find ways to make your offer more competitive than the next person's. And what does that entail? I mean, it's a whole nother conversation that we can have, and I'm happy to talk to anybody about that. But there's different ways to make your offer more competitive. And, you're fighting against people that are selling their homes up north, and they have an influx of cash, and they're offering all cash on homes. And it is quite competitive. So that's kind of my warning there, I guess.
So for the buyer, maybe be patient. For the seller, can they afford to maybe up the price of their house a little, knowing that the market is in their favor?
So the problem with that is you hit, if it's not a cash offer, if it's a cash offer, then there shouldn't be a problem. But if it's not a cash offer, then you run into appraisal issues. If homes that are in the neighborhood aren't selling for the price that they're asking, it's going to be very tough for them to get the house appraised at that value. And if it doesn't appraise at the value they're selling at, then a mortgage company will not finance at that price. So even if someone comes in with an offer at asking and it doesn't appraise at the price, their mortgage company won't lend them the money. So then the deal kind of stalls until both parties figure out an agreement. Now, what I'm seeing is that the market is just increasing because there are cash buyers coming down, and they are buying these houses, which are allowing them to be comps for other houses, thus increasing the market value of homes. So our market is very much alive and well and growing.
They say cash is king.
Yeah.
Is that true? If you're a buyer, does that give you more flexibility?
Yeah, cash is truly king right now in this market. So if you can afford to buy all cash, I mean, you're going to beat out a lot of offers, and it's going to be very attractive to sellers.
Definitely a lot of great real estate knowledge today. We asked you the last time you were on what you loved about this area. I want to know, have you hit any new hot spots lately? I went to the pier a couple of weeks ago. That place is awesome.
The pier is cool. We took my buddy's boat there, and it looked really crowded. And we were fishing right by the pier, and we got our line stuck on one of the poles, and everybody was cheering when we got it out. So that was fun. My wife and I had been kind of just doing work around the house, but we did go to Weeden Island. That was fun. There was a boardwalk there, and we took the baby in the stroller and walked around. And this morning, I actually went for a swim, or I tried to go for a swim at Paso Grill. And because of the hurricane, there are shells everywhere. There's a little beachhead, and it's just covered in shells. I actually got this giant shell on my
Nice.
walk,
Good
and I
for
tried to go swimming, but it was just the current was too strong, and there was just shells everywhere, just blasting me in the face. So I thought this wouldn't be a nice swim, so I kind of just went back in my car.
That's great to know. My mom loves shelling at Honeymoon Island, and my son and my daughter, and we actually took them to the Weed and Preserve too. Did you go up the tower?
Did not make it to the tower. We did the other route, and it takes you to kind of like an estuary type place, and
Okay.
lots of birds and fish. What a beautiful park, you know.
Absolutely. The last time I think we took that path as well and saw a bunch of kayaks heading out there. So
Yeah, they got a lot of kayak trails. It's a really cool place.
definitely a fun place to live, work, and play. That's why we call it Perfectly Pinellas. Jeff McCulka of Caldwell Banker Realty in St. Petersburg. If anyone wants to get your services, get in contact with you, how can they do it?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page. I have a website, beautifultampahomes.com. Find me on Facebook, and I'm sure we'll tag that in the video here. And you can message me on there, and my cell phone and email are on there as well.
Absolutely. Will do, Jeff. Always appreciate your time and look forward to
Thanks,
having you
Todd.
soon.
All
Thanks so
right,
much, buddy.
take care. All right, see ya.